Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we're going to make fried pork tenderloin sandwiches and home fries for dinner tonight. So join me as we make along. First we're going to start out with our home fries so those can bake while we are making the sandwiches. So we're a large family, so this is for a family of 7. I have 3 really big potatoes. They actually make a lot, so 3 big potatoes feeds all 7 of us for dinner for our things. You can peel with a peeler. I'm used to using a knife, so I'm just going to do a quick peel on my potatoes right here, just getting the main kind of stuff off. It's okay if you leave a little bit of skin on because these are just going to be like a homemade fries. So I just got a quick peel on them. So I've got 1. And then I peel it with a knife like this. I chop off the ends so that I have something steady to hold it onto. And then I'm going to do a quick peel on this as well. You can leave the skins on if you want to. My kids prefer no skins on them. And so we just peel them off. But it's just easy. If you're not comfortable doing it with a knife, you can use a peeler. I used to use a peeler all the time, but then I found that this just goes so much faster. And then I'll do a quick peel on this one. Put those to the side. And I'll cut this off. These are one of my kids' favorite French fries. I guess they're like a mix between seasoned steak fries and potato wedges. But you don't fry them. I put them in, like, I guess our oven on the air fry setting, but I don't fry them. So now that I've got these, with a quick peel, I'm going to throw the potato skins away. That way it's not clouding up my workspace. And then I'm going to chop our potatoes. So I'm going to start by cutting each one in half so they're easier to manage. And then I'm going to cut them into smaller sections like this. So if you kind of flail them out, that's like the thickness that I want them. And then I'm going to chop them again like this so that they'll make like little French fries. So I guess this would be like a julienne cut if you want the fancy terminology. But just a simple basic French fry. You don't want to get them super thick because then they won't cook evenly. You want your fries to all be about the same thickness. Otherwise you can get crunchy fries, and undercooked potatoes are never good. So I have there, I'm going to get this one a little bit smaller, and this one a little smaller as well. These are an easy fry that you can make with just some basic ingredients. They have a little bit more flavor on them than basic French fry, but they are a fan favorite in our house, and they pair really well with like burgers, or we're doing fried pork tenderloin sandwiches, but you can do them with a fried chicken sandwich. The recipe that I'm making today works well with chicken too, if you want to do it with a chicken breast instead of pork cutlet. So we're almost have these all chopped up. And I'm putting them in a large bowl. It's easier to, because we're going to be coating them with some seasoning in a little bit, it's easier to do it in a large bowl because it can mix thoroughly. It's just like when you're making a salad, the larger the bowl, the better it will mix. So I'll slice these down again, just like this. And then I'm going to cut them again in my julienne style. If you have a mandolin, not the instrument, it's a cooking utensil, you could use a mandolin to cut up your potatoes. I just find it's easier just to do it with a knife because it has less setup and less things to clean. Cleaning a mandolin is a pain because they're sharp blades that are really hard to really get in there to clean. So, but once you use your knife and you get comfortable with it, it's a lot easier, and you can go pretty fast like I am. I know in the beginning you'll probably be a lot slower and a lot more careful, but as you get comfortable, you're more confident in your ability and you'll go a lot faster. It's just like riding a bike. Nobody is speeding down the driveway the first time they hop on a bike. And I'm going to cut this as my last bit. And I'll cut these. Again, you can also leave on the skins if you like, but for my kids, they prefer them without the skins. And then I'll show you in the bowl, those 3 potatoes. You can see how much they've made. They've made quite a lot of potatoes right here. It's a good amount of potatoes for French fries. So I'm gonna cut this one just a little bit. So now that I have my potatoes in here, I'm gonna take olive oil and I'm just going to kind of cover it generously like that. And then I'm gonna use some Lowry seasoned salt and I'm gonna sprinkle that over everything. A good coating like this. And then I'm gonna use a little bit of flour as well. So it's gonna have that, like those seasoned steak fries, it's gonna have a little bit of kind of a batter to it. So I'm gonna put a little bit of flour and some seasoned breadcrumbs. These are panko, but you could also use regular ones. I think panko provides a nice little crunch to them because you see they're much thicker than a regular breadcrumb. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that. And last but not least, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. This Parmesan cheese I only ever use for making home fries. My kids will put it on their pasta and spaghetti, but I prefer to use fresh for that. But for home fries, this one works much better than the fresh one because it doesn't melt as easily. And then I'm just gonna reach in there with my hands and I'm just gonna keep tossing them until they're all coated, just like this. And I'm gonna take one out so you can get a really good look to see what they look like. So you see how they have all that seasoning and tastiness on it? Those are gonna crisp up nicely in the oven and add a lot of flavor. So I'm gonna just coat over here. And then I have my big baking tray right here. And I'm going to spread them out. And it's good, and make sure when you put them on your tray that you are not stacking them on top of each other. You want them each to have plenty of places to crisp up. Otherwise you won't have crispy potatoes. Some will be soggy. So you want to have them enough space to breathe. That's why I'm using my like extra large baking sheet, which is bigger than a standard baking sheet.
And just real quick, what was those seasonings again?
The seasonings was Lowry seasoning salt and flour, Parmesan cheese, and panko breadcrumbs. So it's just a very basic seasoning, but they add together, they kind of give you that steak fry taste to them. The seasoned steak fry. And then olive oil, you want to, of course, coat them in olive oil. But you don't need too much. I'm going to spread this out real nicely. I have just a little bit more in here. And then I have my oven already preheating. I'm using the air fryer setting on my oven. And now I have a little extra crumblies in here. I'm just going to take those and then just sprinkle them generously along here, just like that. Okay. And before I put my tray in the oven, I'm just gonna wash my hands because as you can see, they're coated as well. So, got my hands washed, and now I'm gonna go put these in the oven so that they can cook. I have my oven on the air fry setting at 400 degrees. They'll take about 30 minutes to cook, but if you don't have an air fry setting on your oven, you can just cook them at 425 or 450. If you have convection, use the convection on it because that's kind of what an air fryer is. Okay, I'll put my lid on. Would you like a snack? Yeah. Okay, you can have a snack while I make somewhere. Okay, now that we have those in the oven, I'm going to make our fried pork tenderloin sandwiches. So here I have some thin cut pork chops. You can see they're very thin, so they're not like a typical one. You could use typical ones, but then you're gonna have to pound them a little bit longer, and they'll also take a little bit longer to fry. So I'm gonna take these out of my package. I got 2 packages because again, we are a large family. We are a family of 7. And then I'm going to use I have a meat tenderizer, but I'm washing my hands real quick. There we go. I'm gonna use my meat tenderizer. So it has it's like a little hammer, essentially like this, and you're gonna pound the meat. If you don't have a meat tenderizer, what I did was the garlic press. I used to wrap it up in like saran wrap and beat with it. You could also just hit it with something hard, because you don't need to do much. It's just gonna flatten them out, but it's gonna make it a little more tender so it's not so tough. And you just beat it a couple of times, and then easy peasy. It's, you know, if you're really stressed out, this is probably a great meal to make. Let it out on the poor little tenderloins. But you're just gonna beat them up and make them flat. Yeah, we're gonna pound it up, Teddy Bear. We're making pork tenderloin sandwiches. Aren't they yummy? So we're just patting them out on here. Yeah. But it doesn't, you don't need to pat too hard, and you don't hit too hard. I'm not really hitting it that hard, because if you hit it too hard, you could actually like poke right through. Grab that side. There we go. But I'm going through, I just have a couple more of these left to bang out, and then after we're done banging these out, I'm gonna make my mixtures that we're gonna dip them and bread them in. These are, if you've ever had like Wiener Schnitzel, you could think of it as like a Wiener Schnitzel sandwich, which just tastes very similar to a fried chicken sandwich. But they're easy, they're quick, and they're a fan favorite in the house. These are really common in the Midwest. I think like a chain restaurant, what is it, Culver's, they have a fried pork tenderloin sandwich that you can get, but they're not so common here in the South. So I've got all of my pork tenderloin cuts pounded out. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make, one of these is going to be flour, one of these are going to be egg, so that I can start my dipping for them. So I'm going to crack my eggs. I'm going to put 4 of them in here. Sometimes you'll use up all of your egg that you mix, sometimes you won't, but I find that for this many tenderloins, I need about 4 eggs. If you're making less, then you can of course cut your eggs down in half. Let me get a fork real quick. I need to beat up my egg. Oh, there's our majestic cat, Pepper. She's wishing she could come steal some pork over here. She was a cat we rescued. She was living in one of our friend's sheds, and we rescued her when she was a kitten. Here's our egg mixture. So I just beated them up real quick, just like that. And then over here is going to be, I'm going to use some flour. So I'm going to start off with some flour. I'm going to fill it up in this bowl, maybe 2 cups for right now. And then I'm going to add in table blend Mrs. Dash's. I like this seasoning blend well, and it's really finely ground, so it works well. If you want a little kick to it, you could use like Tony Chachere's Cajun thing, because that has a nice flavor. And then I'm gonna add some Lowry's seasoning salt. So Mrs. Dash's is a salt-free blend, so you can't have this, cat. So I'm gonna add this. And you'll want a good amount, because this is all that's going to be used to season the pork, and it's only going on the outside. So first I'm gonna take that fork. Papa! Yeah, you see Pepper up there. That's okay. Papa's got her. And then I'm gonna stir this up with a fork. Yeah, she's getting pets. Yeah, that's okay. She can be up there, Teddy. And so I've stirred it up. So I just used a fork. Oh, that's okay. You want Pepper off the counter? We can get her off the counter in just a second. No. Yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna stir this up just like this. Okay, so you've mixed all the seasonings into your flour. And then this is called, like, you're gonna do 2 coats. So first, we're gonna dip every single one of these tenderloin cutlets. Yep, cutlets into this, just like this, and coat them. And then what I'm gonna do is, once I've done that, I'm gonna actually mix some breadcrumbs into here. And then what we'll do is we'll dip into the egg and then into the new mixture. and that will give it a nice crunchy coating. You know, if you think about your KFC chicken or any fried chicken that has a really good coating. So this one's kind of the seasoning coating, but this will help hold all the good crunchies on later. So I've got them out just like this coating. And again, this is enough to feed a family of 7, so it's a lot more than what you might make at home. You probably would just buy 1 pack of pork tenderloins. All my little kids will eat about 1 sandwich. My older son, he'll eat 2. He'd eat 3 if we'd let him. But you can also do 2 patties in 1 sandwich if you wanted to, because they're pretty thin. But they are very filling. You also, as you can see, you make a mess, but that's what cooking's all about. You're not gonna have a perfectly clean kitchen when you cook. And then I have 1 more. Are you getting the flour? Does that taste yummy? Yeah. It's not sugar, buddy.
Okay.
Okay, so now that I have these,
Mom.
I'm going to take my panko breadcrumbs, the same that I used with there, and I'm gonna pour them in here as well. And I'm doing a good amount because I want them, and then I'll use my fork. Yeah, and I'm gonna stir them up.
I want to eat that.
Yeah, you wanna eat it?
Yeah. I'm gonna eat that.
Okay. And just
Wait.
like this, we'll stir them up. And then, this is the part where your hands are gonna get really coated and stuff, so you have to try to remember to like dip with 1 hand and then switch with the other hand, but I always forget and my hands turn into these things. So you're gonna just take your veal cutlet or your pork cutlet in here, you're gonna coat it so it's all covered, and then we'll move it over here, and then you do the same. We're just gonna pat it in and coat it, and then when I'm ready, I'm gonna put it back on here until I'm ready to fry them up. So I'm gonna dip in here, just like that. I'm gonna bring it over here, and then I kinda like to put a little on top, and then coat it just like this. So it'll have a nice crispy flavor to it. That's why I like to use the panko, because the panko breadcrumbs are chunkier than a traditional breadcrumb. So it gives you a nice crunch when you bite into it. And we'll coat this one up just like that. A little more. But the important part of dipping everything in the flour first before we do the egg is so the egg won't actually stick onto the pork tenderloin unless you've coated it with flour. It will just run right off. So it's a really important step if you're ever trying to bread something. Make sure you dip it, coat it in flour first. And just like this. And it goes pretty fast. I mean, you can get these breaded pretty quickly. This is a meal that I can get done typically in like 30 minutes in our family, which is great because we're fairly busy during the week. We have a lot of sports and activities between all the kids. I'll dip here. And there we go. We'll just cover it up. Just like that. I think I'm gonna do a little dip on there because I missed that part a little. That way I get those good crunchies on it. And I'll put it on here. A few more of these. Sometimes if you go to like a fair, they'll have fried pork tenderloin sandwiches, and these are kind of what they are. But typically they're like the massive ones. Like if you've ever gone to the Renaissance Festival, they have massive fried pork tenderloin sandwiches. They're like the size of your face. They're huge. By hammering them out into these thin things, it keeps them tender. Otherwise, pork, if you overcook it, can get pretty crunchy or pretty stiff and tough. So that's why I like to pound it out. And the thinner, the quicker you can cook it without overcooking it. And you also don't want to burn your seasonings if you cook it too long. Okay, so I have that. I just have 3 more after this. Looks like I'm going to have the perfect amount of breading. Again, I kind of do everything by eye and by like looking at it and how it feels. when you're actually like cooking, it's so much, once you get comfortable and you start experimenting, you get to understand things just by looking at it. I even find when I follow a recipe nowadays, they're not always the most correct measurements. But like if you were unsure about this, you could taste some of the flour before you started coating your pork to see if it was salty enough. You do want it to have a bit more salty than you would like, because that's when you fry it up. The meat will have no flavor in it. It's the seasoning on the outside. So you want enough to mask that up as well. So I have one more after this. And then we, see my fingers, I'll have to wash them. They've turned into what you would call hush puppies back in the day. The breading that they used to make with fish and the extra stuff, the eggs in the mix, was what they would make hush puppies out of. So this would be like having little hush puppies on my fingers. So here, I've got this, and now I'm done with the rest of my egg and flour mixture. So I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna dump this one out. Always dump your flour and your eggs out in a trash can, because they will clog your drain. A little bit can go down, but a lot will clog your drain.
Yeah,
And we deal with a lot of clogged drains in this house, don't we? Our house was built in the 70s, so we have thin pipes and things clog easily here. So now I have all of our things breaded. I'm going to put some oil in this pan, and I'm gonna say, yeah, is that Evie's drink? And I'm gonna turn it to high because I need the oil to heat up, but then I will turn it down to anything. Oh, is that Flareon on there?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fill it up. You want enough oil because you're gonna want it to cover up. So I have it right there. It's a good amount of oil to cover up and fry it. You might need to add a little bit more. I mean, I might, because I'm doing a bunch. But you want enough to where each half is submerged. Do you need it open? Okay, you're thirsty. While this is warming up, we can come check out the home fries in the oven and see how they're doing. I'm gonna put this in the sink while you come and join us, and we can see how the home fries are roasting up.
There's water.
Yeah, there's your water.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna open it up, and you can see, very hot, buddy, so stay back. But you can see how they're starting to crisp up and they cook well, which is perfect, is what we want. So they're gonna cook in there for a little bit more. Yeah, you see them cooking? And then I've gotta wait for the oil to warm up. You don't wanna put your thing until the oil has heated up. The trick to knowing if your oil is the right temperature, especially if you're not using a, a thermometer, or you don't have a fryer, is I'm gonna get a little cup of water. And the trick is you take a drop of water and you put it in. If it doesn't sizzle, it's not ready. So we gotta wait until the oil is hot enough that when you drop the water in, it's gonna sizzle and bounce. That lets me know that it's at like 300 degree, 400 degree things. Did you see the doggy right there? Okay, so we're gonna wait for that to oil. I'm gonna start cleaning up a little bit of this mess so that when it comes time to serve and plate, I won't have as big of a mess. So I have that. Oh, I can start to hear it sizzle, so it's very close. You also, once it gets hot, you're gonna wanna turn it down, because if you leave it higher, the oil will keep heating and you'll burn your food before it can cook. So I'm gonna put this, get that ready, and now we're gonna do our drop test, and I'll show you with the water. So I've got my drop, and you can see how it starts to sizzle. That's when I know it's ready for us to fry. Whoop. Let me turn it down, and I'm going to add in, if you are not comfortable using your fingers, use tongs. I'm very comfortable, and I know how I'm safe because I've done it for a while, but for just dropping them in, I'm just going to use my fingers, but you can use tongs. While these are cooking, let me get out my tongs because I'll need these to flip. Let me get them in there. I like to, when I'm ready to take them out, I'm going to get a baking sheet, one right here, and I'm going to coat it with paper towels so that it soaks up some of the extra grease when it comes out. This is, it's nice because sometimes you can get a pocket of grease in there, and that's just never great. So I've got a double layered there. And, oh, thank you, buddy. Mama's gonna need these now.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna watch them cook. So I have now turned mine down to a medium. So it wasn't high, but I have it as a medium. And so I'm gonna start cooking these in a medium. And there, and you can kind of see the sizzle all the way around. Since we've hammered them so thin, they're gonna cook a lot faster. If you do make them thicker, you'll have to fry them longer, which means you're gonna want your oil at a slightly lower temperature, or you're going to burn the outside of your meat or your little sandwich patty thing before it's cooked all the way through. That's the most common mistake people make when they're frying up foods, is they put the oil on too high and it cooks the outside and burns it before you can get to the inside. So I'm gonna just pull up one and just check to see what it looks like. You see, I'm gonna cook it a little longer because I want it a little bit more golden than that. It's starting to get there, but I want it a little bit more golden brown. I got the warning when I got flour all over me. Did you find yourself a hanger over there, bud? Yeah. Okay, you have a nice good sizzle. I'll look at this one. Check, this one looks like it. I can see it's starting to turn golden brown. So this is kind of the color I want. It's kind of a perfect sizzle. So I've got that one flipping. And let's see, let's look at this one. I want to cook this one a little bit more. This one a little more. And that one a little more. Again, I always seem to have a hot spot on my my pan that cooks a lot more. My pan is actually a lot bigger than my burner, so wherever the ones that's getting the most heat is what's gonna heat up and cook the fastest. But you don't want to make sure you undercook them, otherwise you'll have like a gooey crust. So you want to make sure you get a nice good golden crisp to it. And since they're hammered so thin, they're gonna cook all the way through. Let's look at this one. A little bit more on that one. I'm gonna turn it so it can cook a little bit this way. Let's look at that. A little more. This one looks like it's getting there. Nice. I'm gonna do a little rotate. Seems like this end of my pan is cooking faster than that. Invest in a good set of tongs. I got these, I believe, from Williamson Sonoma. But Target has some good ones. Again, if you're using a non-stick pan, make sure that you use something that is either plastic or silicone tip or wooden, because metal will scratch it up. You could also fry these in a skillet if you had a skillet. I just tend to do this because it's just easy cleanup in a non-stick pan, and I don't have to worry about making sure my pan is seasoned all the time. Let's flip these over. Perfect. These next ones are being ready to flip. Look at those. Looking beautiful. Have a nice golden brown color, which is this is what we want. And I can feel them with my tongs right now, and they feel crunchy, which is what you want. You want them to be nice and crunchy, because nobody likes soggy fried foods. So we'll cook these up. I'll see what this light is looking like on the bottom. This one is looking like it's ready to come off. Perfect. So I'm going to put this one on my paper towel, and while that waits, I'm going to throw a new one in its spot. Also, as you cook, it's going to use up your oil, so your oil level will go down lower and lower, which also means that it's more likely to burn. So you just have to be careful to make sure your oil temperature doesn't get too hot. So if you notice it start to turn black, like on spots, then your oil's too hot and you need to turn it down. Those are looking good. They need about another minute or so. While we do that, I'm gonna grab our buns real quick out of our bread drawer over here. Normally I like to use brioche buns, but as I said, we're having a snowstorm right now, and everything was sold out at the store. So instead of getting the brioche buns, it's a French hamburger bun, which works just as well. But the brioche, I think, tastes a little bit better, and it's a little bit softer. Okay, let's look at these. A little bit longer on that one. A little bit longer on that one. And a a little bit longer on that one. So we're getting there. But it doesn't take long. And the beauty is while you're frying up and cooking these, the home fries are cooking in the oven. And pretty much everything will get to be done at around the exact same time. So it's really nice. Let's see, I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. Good. Let's see how this one's doing. Not quite yet. Again, it's important, just be careful around anytime you're frying something in hot oil. It can splatter. If you drop any type of liquid into it, it will cause big splatters. So just always be careful around frying grease and be safe. Use your tongs. If if you do have a lot of splattering, you could put an oven mitt on and use it to protect yourself. But this can be more dangerous if you're not comfortable. Okay, let's look at these. I think, yep, these look perfect. So there's a nice golden color that we want. And I'm going to always put them down the fried side down so that has the most grease on it so it can soak it up. And I'll put this one and this one down, and I'm going to drop a couple more in our frying pan as we go. Yeah. Ooh. And then while these are frying up, I'm going to check on the home fries again. We can see how they've progressed. Whenever you use the air fryer, I advise you to check often because they can cook really fast. So we don't want them to burn. But ours are still looking really good. They're starting to get crisped up around it. It's looking really nice. Let me see. I want them to cook a little bit longer. They're still, most of them are soft. But there's a couple kind of hotter, chunkier ones. So I might turn it down just a little. There's a couple kind of hotter, chunkier ones. So I might turn it down just a little bit so I can slow cook. So I'm going to turn it down to 375. So the last one can slow cook on that one. There we go. Perfect. So now it's on there. And I will now check on these frying. I had the one that I put in earlier, so I feel like that should be ready to flip. It is perfect. What we like to serve these with is we like to put Chick-fil-A sauce on them. It's just delicious. It pairs really well with it. You could also do ranch or ketchup, but my kids tend to love the Chick-fil-A sauce on them. So that's what I'll be plating them with today. Put it on there. Oh, are you bringing your kitchen helper over, buddy?
Yeah.
Here, let me help you, okay? You got it? I'm gonna have you right here because I don't want any of the grease to bubble up on you. But you can help. You want to help me right here, and you can help get the buns out. We'll get one ready on a plate for us. So let's get it plated out. Look at it. And here, do we open up and get our buns out? Because we'll want to put them on our buns. You could also eat it without a bun if you wanted. But we like to eat them as a sandwich.
Is there?
Oh, look at these. These are kind of like a one big chunk. So normally I look at this, guys. They came out, they're like a bread. They're all stuck together. Yeah. So we only need one bun. Can you break that one apart for me, buddy? Yeah, break it apart. Good job. We'll use the rest for that. We have our one bun. I'm going to check on these. They seem to be sizzling good. Let's see. Not quite, just needs a little bit longer. Just a little longer because we're aiming for a golden brown color. So, and I'm cooking them right now over a medium heat. Yeah, my gauge goes up to 10 and I have them on a 6 to cook. When I started my oil out, I had my oil at an 8 heating up. And then once it did pass the sizzle test, which is when I dropped the water in it and it started to bubble, then I put my meat in and I turned it down to a 4 for a little bit so it wasn't super hot but enough to sear through, and now I have it at a constant 6. Yeah, is that right? We're going to eat this. and then we can see it constantly. If your oil is not bubbling when you're cooking in it, it's not hot enough, and you'll just have slimy food. So you want to make sure it's hot enough to cook and crisp those up. That's why you need to make sure you wait until your oil is hot to put your food in. Also, if you wait until it's hot, will prevent the food from burning. If you put it in before it's hot, it will stick and burn to the bottom of the pan. So we have those in there, and they're cooking up perfectly. They've got a nice golden brown color to them.
Wow!
Yeah, are they cooking nicely?
Nice.
Yeah, let's see what this one is. This ready? Oh, perfect. This one's ready to come out. See how it's got a perfect golden brown to it? I'm gonna put it again, since I pulled it out of the oil, I'm gonna put it face down because that's where the oil is hiding in those pockets, and I'm gonna throw another one in, just like this.
Hooray!
I know, are you excited for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, he's my little helper. We call him Chef Teddy. Whenever I'm cooking, he always tends to find me in the kitchen.
Hey, someone asked what type of meat.
This is pork tenderloins. So they were the thin cut pork tenderloins that you can buy from the store. So they're really thin. And I hammered them out with a meat tenderizer.
Yeah.
You could do it with chicken as well. But we tend to like it with the pork. You can get them real thin with the pork, which is really nice. And they'll cook up fairly fast. The seasonings that I used was Lowry's seasoning salt. So I have Lowry's. And I used Mrs. Dash's table blend because it's a finely blended and it has no salt in this. As well as Parmesan cheese. Don't use the fresh, use this one. Otherwise it will be too, actually this is for my home fries. Never mind. And these, panko breadcrumbs.
And
flour.
Fergie wants to know, how many people are you feeding?
We are feeding 7 and with some leftovers so we can just reheat them. So 7, I have 5 kids. So we have a lot of them. So my little ones will just eat 1, but my bigger kids will eat 2 sandwiches, or they'll do 2 patties in a sandwich. So because they're really thin cut. So I think together this was only like 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds of pork tenderloin, but it makes a lot of them. And so I do feed an army, I tell you that, especially when you have teenage boys. They'll eat you out of the house. These are also perfect. But yes, when I cook food, I cook a lot. I have a big family, and then I also cook food for my parents to help them out. They live a very busy lifestyle. And if I didn't help provide them nice home-cooked meals, they would be eating like fast food. Yeah. Okay, so we'll throw these 2 in. We're almost done with that.
Yeah.
I know. But again, when I'm taking them out of, this is olive oil that I fried them in. You could fry them in different oils. Olive oil is just the only oil I ever use. So that's what I fry it in. But I put them on a baking sheet on a paper towel because as you see, it starts to soak out any of the extra oil or grease, and it prevents them from getting like soggy. So I'll put them on that while they're waiting. And they actually, like, I'm cooking, it seems like for an army, but it cooks pretty fast. I'm all about, we eat a lot of home-cooked meals in our house, and but I need my meals to be done quick. Yeah, home-cooked meal. So I always try to find things that I can get done quickly, especially on busy nights. We have a lot of sports between my kids, and so I sometimes don't have a lot of freedom in the evening to cook. So yesterday we did lamb chops. Yeah, that was yesterday. We had lamb chops with a curried lentil soup, which the video is on our page if you want to see that one. But we do I try to cook a wide variety of foods because I want my kids to grow up with a good palate. So this one's ready to flip over. Yeah, that one. Let's see if this one needs still a little bit more. As you can see, towards the end, my oil is dwindling, but I should have enough to get through this fry. If you find that you don't have enough oil in there, and it's not covering it well, just pour a little bit more in there. It will heat up pretty fast and cook with it. So we have that. We have our buns. Shall we, while these are cooking, let's check out our home fries. I think they're almost done. And it's the great thing is by the time I'm done frying up these sandwiches, the home fries that we prepped first are finished. So I'm gonna get my pot holders. I have, these are bears. We make the joke that we have the right to bear arms. And I'll grab this under here. And look at them, perfect. You've got some brown crispy edges on the outside, but they are a perfect coating. Now these, my friends, we cut up 3 large potatoes. So 3 large potatoes makes quite a lot of home fries. And then I julienne cut them, and then I covered them with some olive oil, and then we sprinkled in some Lowry seasoning salt, Parmesan cheese, flour, and panko breadcrumbs. And that's what you see, those little crispy bits on it. And then I mixed them, I gave them a good mixing with my hands, and then I spread them out on the tray so that they can cook evenly. If you get them lumped together and chunked together, they will, some won't get crisped up and they'll be kind of soggy. Let's look at this guy. I think he's about ready to flip right here. But since we're so what we like to do with our sandwiches is we serve them with good old-fashioned Chick-fil-A sauce. It's just a fan favorite in our house. So what we'll do is, since these, normally I serve them on brioche buns, but as I said, there's a snowstorm going on, so these are French hamburger buns, but you could use any bun you like, or you could do bunless. I'm gonna turn this down, see how these are. I'm gonna cut it open. Oh, good. Oh, that one looks like it's done. Perfect. Yay! Yeah, we're almost done. Oh, another one that looks done. I'll put them on. See if I can move these over to get some more. Oh, I'm taking off some of the breading.
Mama.
Silly mama. That one still needs a little bit. Perfect. We'll cook this out. And the key is hammer them down, or using the meat tenderizer, hammer them thin so that they cook fast. Because if you're too thick, what you'll do is you'll get a nice golden color on the outside. You'll cut into it and it will still be raw, especially if you use chicken. These I did with pork tenderloins instead of chicken. So I have my oils done and I'm frying it. What I like to do whenever I use oil or bacon grease or anything like that, I just put paper towel in here after I'm done, because you never want to pour oil down your sink. If you pour it down your sink, it will clog your drain. So even if you run hot water, it will clog your drain. So what I do whenever I'm cooking anything with oil or bacon, I use a paper towel to suck up all of that grease. You see how it's all gone? Just like that. Boom. And then once this is cooled down, I can throw it in the trash can, and that will save me from getting a clogged drain. But now we are ready to plate everything. So I'm gonna take my French drain, or my my French hamburger bun. I take a pork tenderloin on it. And then I'm just gonna give it a nice little drizzle of Chick-fil-A sauce. You could use anything. You could use ranch, you could do plain, you could do barbecue sauce, whatever you want to do. And then we'll take up our home fries, just like this. An easy dinner. I'll pair it with a fruit, but thanks for joining us. If you liked us, please subscribe.